Subject: Ship Hedlund. Species: Warutteri. Description: reptilian humanoid, no tail, 5'3", 1.6 meters average height. 135 pounds, 61 kilograms average weight. 105-year life expectancy. Ship: RSV Lower Lana. Fights with honor. Location: Sol. The bridge was silent as we all watched the holographic display of the massive ship that had come to our rescue. The armor plating of the ship gave it the shape of driftwood, or something an artist would try to create with driftwood, before they gave up part of the way through. Flat, semi-round, and very, very thick plates covered almost the entirety of the vessel with the exception of a few spots. It took me some time to realize that those spots were likely weapon ports, or maybe even fighter bays. There were 4 obvious weapons, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, pointing in separate directions. Judging from the shape, they had to be some sort of magnetically accelerated cannon. They were bigger than the Lower Lana. "Sir, part of the unknown vessel is opening up and something is detaching from the interior," Corinne informed me in a voice just above a whisper. "It looks like it's another ship." A ship that was slightly larger than our own separated from the unknown vessel and positioned itself alongside the Lower Lana. An even smaller ship then left that one and began a course for us. "We're being held by the small vessel," Luna croaked, struggling to find his voice. I cleared my throat and said, "Put them through." The speaker crackled to life, and the voice on the other end said, "RSV Lower Lana, this is Lieutenant Sergei Barbinin of the USSS Valor. Please respond." "We're here, Lieutenant Sergei Barbinin of the USSS Valor. I'm Ship Hedlund, and this is the RSV Lower Lana. You have permission to come aboard," I said, trying to mask the tension in my voice. This was the worst-case scenario for a first contact from a species outside of the Republic. Indenting ourselves at first contact is definitely going to have some political backlash, especially with some of the more xenophobic member species. You would think that going to war would be, but being indebted to someone you don't know is usually a lose-lose scenario. Either we're out something by repaying the debt, or we don't repay the debt and go to war anyway. Well, Lieutenant Barbinin began hesitantly. "We're not quite ready for boarding yet. We're showing several hull breaches and your structural integrity is... well... Our frame is damaged, we know. It's not just damaged, shiphead. It's cracked. Your frame has been held together by your hull, and your hull has holes in it. If we're not extremely precise with our docking maneuver, you're going to fall to bits." I gave Luna a bewildered look. He returned my stare with one of his own before looking back at his instrument panel. "By the suns, he's right. Apologies, shiphead, the damage is much more severe than we originally assessed," he said. "What can we do?" I asked, trying not to sound panicked. I don't want to lose any more of my crew. I don't know," Luna said, nearly losing his composure. "Don't worry too much, shiphead. We're going to be able to extract you," Lieutenant Barbinin interjected. "We are just going to need position guidance. We're downloading the software required right now." "Do you have compatible docking equipment? Clamps and such?" I asked. "Well, we're currently waiting for the download to finish to solidify our plan of action, but I think our best bet is to use an umbilical. Looking at your ship's layout and the holes in it, we can probably attach to the hole in your... I think that's your living quarters? It's the room near your bridge." I did some mental mapping. "Yes, that's right. That area's sealed off due to depressurization, though." "That won't be a problem," Lieutenant Barbinin said cheerily. "We've brought enough gas to repressurize your entire ship. Once we're attached and the room is repressurized, you'll be able to unseal it and exit for the umbilical." The plan was solid, but one thing bothered me. If you're going to be using an umbilical, then why do you need precision guidance software? "We're not familiar with your ship's construction methods or composition," he began. "For all we know, just getting close to your ship can cause it to break apart due to the forces generated by our proximity. We'll need to be in a position far enough away that we won't be affecting you. Aim and guide the umbilical to the proper position, and fire it gently enough that it won't send a shockwave that will shatter your ship." "Understood," I said, satisfied by the explanation. "All right, do you have pressure suits available?" he asked. Luna shook his head and said, "We don't have pressure suits, but we do have respirators. They won't last long if we're exposed to vacuum, though." "Well, that's better than nothing. I suggest you prep them. We'll be in touch when we're ready to begin." Acknowledged. Ship Hedlund out. The comms light winked out as the connection was severed. The crew sat in silence for a time, unsure of what to say. Something was bothering me about that interaction, but I couldn't quite place it. It was Corinne who made it click into place. "Their sensors must be much more advanced than ours," she said in a hushed tone. "What do you mean?" asked Luna. I spoke up. "They were able to tell that our frame was fractured before we were. They were also able to determine our ship's layout to a degree that allowed them to formulate a rescue plan without consulting us. Not only that, but they were able to scan our databases well enough to be able to extrapolate and translate our language." More silence. We hadn't just indebted ourselves in first contact with an unknown alien species. We'd indebted ourselves with a more advanced unknown alien species. I spent the next few minutes wondering what I should wear to my hearing. I took solace in the fact that what's left of my crew might live. "We're being held, sir," Luna informed me. "Open the channel." Lieutenant Babinin sounded more cheerful as he said, "We're here to rescue you. Turns out my plan held up to scrutiny, so we'll be proceeding with it. The only change is that we'll be sending some of our people aboard to assist with the evacuation, and I'll be joining the away team. Once everyone is safely off the ship, the USSS Thanatos will scoop it up, so we can begin repairs." Even though it was likely a very accurate description of what will happen, something deeply bothered me about the idea of a ship that can crew 50 people being scooped up. "Understood," I replied. "You have my permission to board. We'll begin evacuation preparation immediately. I'll see you on the bridge. Luna out." The comms light once again flashed off, and the crew gathered around the holographic display in anticipation. We watched as the alien ship expertly maneuvered into a position far enough away that its magnetic fields and gravity wouldn't affect us enough to break us into pieces. We held our breath as the umbilical was fired and slowly travelled the distance between us. There was a time delay of half a second, so we actually heard the ever-so-soft thud of the umbilical making contact before we saw it. "The umbilical has hit its mark, and we're holding steady," Corinne said joyfully. The tension in the air evaporated as the crew allowed themselves a little celebration. For my part, I exhaled the breath I'd been holding in. We're almost safe. "Don't celebrate too heartily. We'll be having guests soon, and I want everyone on their best behaviour. No staring," I said with a smile. "Shortband signal coming in, sir," Corinne said, holding a hand to her ear. "It's the lieutenant. He and his team are proceeding through the umbilical." "Okay, everyone. Respirators on. I want the injured evacuated first, then the non-essentials. Corinne, Luna, you'll be evacuating with me," I said, with as much authority as I could muster. "Yes, sir," the remaining crew said unanimously. "Sir, they're aboard. The lieutenant is heading this way," Corinne said. I heard the thudding footsteps before I saw what they belonged to. The first one through the door was huge. I was fooled at first because it had to slump through the door, but then it rose to its full height. At least 6'5", 195 centimeters, and very wide. It was obviously wearing a pressure suit, but the suit looked more like body armor. The helmet was completely opaque, with what looked like lights and cameras installed. There were thick plates strategically placed in what looked like a rubbery weave bodysuit. The bodysuit was black, but everything else was navy blue. We were all staring in a shocked silence when the other two monstrosities crashed through the door. They were both 7 foot, 216 centimeters tall, are wearing a similar pressure suit, but in olive drab. Even under such seemingly cumbersome attire, it was obvious that their musculature would put our most avid bodybuilders to shame. I fought my fight-or-flight instincts as I briefly wondered if they were even organic at all. "Air safe, Lieutenant," one of the green monsters said. The one in blue took off his helmet to reveal soft, beige skin with golden high-cut hair. His piercing blue eyes scanned the room like a predator before he affixed his gaze to me. His lips curled in what could be mistaken for a snarl, showing 4 pointed teeth and several flat ones. This actually set me at ease because I recognized the expression as a smile. Several primate species have similar expressions. Even the Urukhari have our own variation. "You must be Ship Hedulina," it said. "Yes, and you must be Lieutenant Babinin. Well, welcome aboard," I said, trying my best not to stammer. "I'm sorry if we look frightening. These are designed to do that, but they're all we had on hand." "I understand. You're, quite larger than we pictured," I said, as I rubbed the back of my neck nervously. One of the green monsters chuckled slightly. The other turned to look at him with what I assume was a glare. "The suits add to our size by an inch or two. It doesn't sound like it makes a difference, but it definitely does." He gestured to his left. "This is Corporal Simmons." Then he gestured to his right. "This is Lance Corporal Johnson." "Nice to meet you," Johnson said in a gruff voice. I nodded in acknowledgement, unable to speak. Well then, let's get you rescued, shall we? Lieutenant Babinin said with another smile. I was about to agree when the proximity alert chimed again. This time I definitely recognized the sound. I've been hearing it more and more lately, and the last time I heard it was right before we found ourselves in this situation. My heart skipped a beat. Corinne looked up from her station and shouted, Sir! On the Union ships!